The following program is brought to you by Blood, Sweat, Tears, and listeners like you. To support this show and all of the shows within TWiB Nation, consider becoming a subscriber of our pay service, The TWiBularity, at twib.me/subscribe. That's twib.me/subscribe. Or you can give a one-time donation at donate.twib.me. That's donate.twib.me. We've all learned how important media is and who tells our stories. Help us be the media that you want to hear and that the media is afraid to hear. It's kind of hard to listen to yourself become irrelevant.
Good afternoon. Today is Tuesday, January 27th, and today on TWiB Prime, Jonathan Chait pens an obnoxious piece for New York Magazine complaining about political correctness and how oppressed he is as a white man. Falcon, aka Anthony Mackie, is saying ridiculous things again, and Sarah Palin is more incoherent than usual. All this and more with Team Blackness on TWiB Prime.
So from now on, whenever you hear these horns, just know you are now entering the blackness. Collard greens, cornbread, and the catfish. Malcolm X and Dr. King with a black fist. We are live, son. This is blackness. You are now entering the blackness. Stevie Wonder, Marvin Gaye, and the classics. Real love, the opposite of ratchet. We are live, son. This is blackness. When they hear me, they say, let's go.
What is going on, people? We are back. This is This Week in Blackness Prime. I am your host, Elon James White. With me, as per usual, is Team Blackness, consisting of Captain, Lieutenant, General, Professor. On occasion, he is some sort of doctor. He is the Negro Jon Snow in our Negro Game of Thrones, which was shown even more clearly since he was on the wall this weekend when apparently New York had Snowmageddon? We have Aaron Rand Freeman, sir.
No, it didn't. It snowed. It snowed. It didn't. It was no Snowmageddon. The city was thrown into terror. It snowed 7 inches. It is possibly the most overhyped blizzard I've ever been a part of in my natural life. I have never seen the extent to which the city was making sure its citizens understood that New York was going to freeze, break off, float into the ocean, and then sink in a matter of days because of said blizzard. And it just snowed. We all woke up and it was even warm. It wasn't even cold. We woke up.
Oh, burn in hell! It couldn't have been warm. I mean, like
it was about 35, 40 degrees when I woke up. I could have gone out in a sweater after it was done snowing. It was not even like it was freezing over dangerously. It was snowed, and then it stopped snowing, and it was 35, 40 degrees.
I saw you sent me a picture of your supermarket, sir. It looked like Sparta.
Well, that was in the midst of terror, which is my issue. Is that whatever reasoning they had, they threw the citizens into this terror where we were all warned. We were all being warned about having supplies and all this stuff. And we're going to be locked in, and power outages, service outages. Everything was supposed to go off. So people were stacking in the supermarket to get supplies because the city wouldn't BS us like that. So. Apparently, in the midst of our terror.
It's not the city. You know who it is, sir. It's Big Grocery. Big Grocery. Did you see the supermarkets? They were sold out of everything. Big Grocery, son. The lobbyists were in the city's ear, and they were like, "Hey, listen, you better tell them that it's going to be crazy snow, and if not, then we're going to start cutting off money and funding."
I got pictures myself of groceries with like empty shelves of like water and stuff, and empty shelves of produce and things that wouldn't keep during the apocalypse anyway. So I'm just like, guys are buying like celery.
Listen, celery is real in the apocalypse.
This doesn't keep for 9 days at the end of the world. I mean, you could put it on the windowsill. I mean, you could put it on the fire escape. It's cold out. I mean, you could probably put it in a bag, put it on there, extra fridge space. But no, it was terrible and overhyped. I think it was Big Grocery. I think because of New York State, honestly, and this is Fox News to the max. I think because New York State government is under intense scrutiny. I honest to God think that this is a distraction. Because what unites it? What gets everyone?
What are you, Bill O'Reilly? Is this the O'Reilly factor? What's happening right now? Like,
This was ridiculous the way they were warning us about the end of the world, and it snowed. I understand that a few years ago, Mike Bloomberg collectively he shrugged his shoulders at a blizzard and everything went haywire. But there's got to be a middle ground between abject terror and completely shrugging your shoulders at the situation. And I feel like they went in the extreme. People were buying groceries. I saw a fist fight between an adult male and a 50-year-old woman over almond milk.
Over almond milk?
Apparently, he had it in his. She put it in her bag when she was bagging her stuff, and like he reached into her bag apparently, and he didn't like, oh, you got almond milk. He just reached into her bag and took her almond milk or something, and she was like, "Dad!" And she swung at him, and then he spit in her face, and then she punched him, and then he was swinging at her. Really? It was 7 inches of snow.
Big grocery. Big grocery. Also with us, someone who today is not a conspiratorial mad person. She is the founder of the Angry Black Lady Chronicles. She's angry, she's black, she is some sort of lady. She's senior legal analyst here at TWiB Media, and an overall problem and a half. We have Imani Gandhi, ma'am.
I am a mad person today.
No, I said the right word.
Yeah, I am a mad person today, but maybe not so much a conspiratorial one. But yeah, I have things to say about things that have been going on.
You know what? I would imagine that. We do this Monday through Thursday. We have a docket full of ridiculousness and tomfoolery, but we do want to just jump right into this. We also have a guest sitting in on this, so we'll just start this right off. I woke up this morning to a news feed on my Twitters that had a lot of people annoyed, and I was wondering what had happened. Amani, what had happened?
See, what had happened was...
What had happened?
Jonathan Chait...
Which, by the way, I feel as if that should have been the beginning of when we all say nope.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
We've done this before. Like, remember when Chait wrote that whole thing about like what was it, 4 months ago or
the culture of poverty?
Yeah, the culture. Yeah. That whole thing. Like we've already learned that when it comes to this type of stuff, Chait has a lot of feelings, and I understand that a lot of people respect Chait, and I don't have any issue with your respect of him, but I do have an issue with the fact that this dude has an issue with being called out at all, and it's just like it's the cranky white guy, listen, finger up thing that drives me nuts, and Chait is like the poster boy for it.
Yeah, I mean, it all started, I think it was a couple of days ago when New York Magazine teased his article saying, "Can a white liberal man critique a culture of political correctness?"
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And, just the answer to that question is obviously yes, because you dumped 5,000 words of just elusive nonsense onto all of our heads.
It was like
you ruined my damn day.
It was like 4,700.
Okay, 4,700 words. I woke up at like 6:45. Immediately checked Jessica Luther's feed because she happened to pop up on my Twitters first, and she was dissecting it. And my first response was, "Nope, I'm not going to do it. I have work to do today. I'm not going to go there." But as I started to read her feed, I thought, "Oh crap! Let me go see what this man wrote." It is 4,795 words of just nonsense. I mean, just nonsense. Tying in the Charlie Hebdo shootings to the harassment of a Muslim conservative.
Well, first of all, we have to kind of like set up what exactly Chait was writing about here. The idea was that Chait was this opus was to basically break down, I guess, have a conversation around what political correctness is. What is that? Well, how is that having an effect on on society, democracy? How is it changing the discourse that we're having amongst ourselves, and then basically call out what he refers to as folks that aren't exactly liberal, but they're on the left, and they fall more within the Marxist space as opposed to real liberals themselves. And then he went into basically try to define a lot of identity politics and make an argument as to why this is problematic. So that's basically, he kind of was doing this in a sense, I guess, to be like, hey, listen, liberals are being some liberals are being wacky, and it's going too far, and we can't have real conversations anymore because they're all wacky. Yeah. And so that's how it kind of sets up. But then you start to break it down, Imani.
And it seems to me that he'd had this post mulling around in his head for a while, and he was just looking for the right hook. Because, frankly, this is no different than exactly what Michelle Goldberg wrote for The Nation about a year and a half ago when she wrote about toxic Twitter, which essentially was, to boil it down to its essence, is them black girls on Twitter are being too mean and they're ruining the discourse for everyone. So Jonathan Chait basically wrote a similar thing, except you can replace feminists, you can replace feminism with liberalism. So he writes essentially that this sort of the concern about political correctness is destroying democracy. He says it's a threat to democracy. He says it's not a political threat or as political of threat as conservatism, because conservatives have more power, but he says it's more of a philosophical threat. And so he really seems to believe that that the sort of tone policing and language policing, trigger warnings, the sort of social justice warrior warring is ruining democracy, and it's ruining free speech. It's leading to censorship. And so he was able somehow to tie in the Charlie Hebdo murders with the harassment of a Muslim man at University of Michigan.
Well, that's another thing. Let's actually take look at what he was saying. So Chait basically puts out a couple of examples of where he's showing supposed liberalism run amok, and he's using these examples. For instance, a Muslim gentleman at a school who had written an article that was basically lampooning the concepts of the hyper sensitive quote unquote PC language that we use. He wrote this article. It was put out. People were upset, and then they basically ripped up a bunch of stuff at his in front of his apartment and had it everywhere. And please note, these are actions that I would not say that you should do at all. That's not. I don't think it's cool. And so he used that example, and then he used another example of when a professor had taken a sign that was for an anti-choice rally, where they had pictures of aborted fetuses and stuff like that, and she had taken it down, and then people and I guess ripped it away from the people that had the sign, and then many folks on the left came and they defended her. And these were his examples of basically the benchmark, the line in where liberalism is, and this is what it is.
He also he also included the attempts by several graduating classes to remove Bill Maher as a commencement speaker, to remove Condoleezza Rice as a commencement speaker, and so according to him, all of these sort of in addition, the Mount Holyoke, it's a college in Pennsylvania, I believe, has just recently decided to pull Eve Ensler's vagina monologues for being non-inclusive to transgender people. So according to Jonathan Chait, as Elon said, this is liberalism run amok. It's liberalism that is sort of that is
faux liberalism, because remember, this is not actually,
this is not his brand of liberalism.
This is not liberalism. The actual liberals should be against any of these things. This is more of the Marxist left type thing.
I mean, he really does. He might as well have embraced that Gamergate lexicon, the SJWs. I mean, it's essentially what he was talking about. Is these SJWs are ruining liberalism. They're promoting censorship. They're anti-free speech, and it's a threat to our democracy.
And so, as he lays out these arguments, and it's a lot. The first thing I said about this was, man, that was a lot of words, because. Man, those were a lot of words. It was just, I felt like it was unnecessarily long in general. But as he's laying out the argument, there are a couple things that he says that I found hilarious, because if this is he's someone, like I said, a lot of people have a lot of respect for him, and yet he was doing something that I found disingenuous at best and silly at worst. For example, there's a quote where he lays out, he's like, "I am a white male, a fact that is certainly worth bearing in mind, as I was also a student at the University of Michigan during the Jacobson incident, and was attacked for writing an article for the campus paper defending the exhibit. If you consider this background and demographic information for the very essence of my point of view, then there's not much point in reading any further. But this pointlessness is exactly the point. Political correctness makes debate irrelevant and frequently impossible." So here's the thing about that. He basically puts together an argument that says, if you look at this and at any point in time, look at my argument and then think as a white male that my argument might be problematic in that sense, and you take that into any consideration, then this is the problem with debate and whatever. Right. He also points out later on that he says that two people can have the exact same viewpoint on something, but if their gender or background is different, then the viewpoint is looked at differently.
It's received differently, he says.
And I read that and I said, yeah.
Obviously. I mean, obviously being in the business that we're in, what we do, obviously the race and gender of the speaker matters, because when I say something on Twitter, I'm called nigger and cunt for 5 hours. When Jonathan Chait writes 4,795 words of nonsense, what is he called? I mean, he might have maybe a couple. I think I might have told him to shut up earlier this morning.
She builds an argument around what he believes, and in a way that if you are to critique his argument, then somehow you are now exactly the problem that he is pointing out. When clearly for someone like, again, I'm told that this man is incredibly intelligent, and I'm not trying to call the man stupid. That's not what I'm saying. But at the same time, if you're going to make these arguments and you're going to argue against something like this, if you're going to make these particular claims, you can't put it in this type of box. Yes, if I say something and Amani says something, we say the exact same thing, and let's say it's, especially if it's around, let's say, I don't know, feminism, gender, something like that. Guess what? Us having the exact same opinion, us saying the exact same thing, will be looked at differently because I am a male and she is a woman. And that's not abnormal. That's called just how life works.
And we've tested it. Remember, over Christmas,
yes.
Over Christmas, both of us changed our avatars. I changed my avatar to a white woman. Elon changed his avatar to a white man.
The whitest man possible.
The whitest man possible. And suddenly, I was able to have actual conversations with people about racial and gender-based issues without the N-word and the C-word being thrown around at me. I mean, it was remarkable at how much more reasonably people were willing to engage me based on the fact that they thought that I was a white woman, irrespective of the fact that my handle is Angry Black Lady. I mean, that didn't even factor into it. They saw the picture, they saw a white woman, they figured, oh, here's someone, I don't have to call her a nigger. I can just talk to her about racism and racial issues just like a normal person.
And so in the midst of him making this argument, and again, it's the idea, at the same time, the people that he's attacking liberalism of the left, but there is a more, I guess I would argue, almost insidious thing that he's doing. Because so now that he's already established that if you take into consideration that he's white and male, that then this is the reason, that's the problem, that's why we can't have debate. He then takes time out to specifically attack actions by women of color. Actively by women of color, pointing out the hashtag white women is for feminism is solidarity is for white women, which was started by what was that Mickey Kendall. Well, by Mickey Kendall, which also led us to the ridiculous Twitter arguments over toxic Twitter and all that good stuff. He actively makes his argument. He takes a random jab at Melissa Harris Perry, who he kind of looked ridiculous on a few months ago when he was having that conversation around poverty and the economics of poverty or whatever. And he got called out for it, especially because in his argument, he kind of erased people of color in it, and people were like, so hey, you can't make that argument without people of color, and he got really, really pissy, and then when he went on the show, he got even more pissy. So that's one thing. And then the magical part where he tries to define these terms, where he calls out trigger warnings, saying that it's problematic, and it was shown that trigger warnings don't work, that a measured exposure to something is how it's the best way to go about dealing with things. Was like, so do you know what trigger warnings are for? So that people can decide how to control the exposure to the thing they have. There's lots of things that have trigger warnings that I don't want to particularly see. And you know what I do? Sometimes I go, nope, not today. And then 3-4 days from now, I'm like, all right, maybe I've had a glass of drink.
Yeah.
Maybe I've had some conversations around it. Now I will go back and look at it. So he's calling out all these things as part of the problem, whereas he clearly has a lack of understanding around it. But from his position, the position that he has, the platform and power that he has, allows him to make these ridiculous claims in a platform such as New York Magazine, and he's paid handsomely for it, while not quite understanding what he's saying.
Right. And he does go on to talk about sort of call-out culture. And there have been plenty of brilliant women of color who have written articles about call-out culture that deal with that issue in a very nuanced way. But for him, he seems to be very upset that when he missteps, he makes some sort of misstep, that when he is called out, he can't defend his intentions without being accused of mansplaining or whitesplaining. And that's when he takes this jab at Melissa Harris Perry that really comes out of nowhere. It seems to be nothing more than a petty attempt to, I don't know, exact some sort of retribution for the fact that she made him look silly when he was talking about the politics of...
Actually, I would even point out that it wasn't that so much that she made him look silly.
He made himself
He looked silly, and when someone else had a platform to make the argument and say actually, and reframe it, then all of a sudden he was very, very upset by that.
And that's actually what I find to be really, really key here, is that there are so few women of color Twitter who have the sort of platform that Melissa Harris Perry has, that I think that he was really sort of taken aback by someone challenging his ideas and challenging them from a place of intelligence and knowledge, because Melissa obviously lives her life as a black woman. And so to have Jonathan Chait in her studio pretending to understand anything about the politics and economics of poverty and so-called urban culture and the culture of poverty in urban landscapes, I think he really was sort of confused that someone was daring to call him out for his shit. And so he seems to be very upset when people call him out in a way that doesn't allow him to defend himself, when really there's no reason for him to defend himself, because the things that he's saying are wrong and are not based in fact. Another example of something in his article that's just not based in fact is he talks about Hannah Rosen, who recently wrote a book called The End of Men, that argued that because of a confluence of social and economic change, women are in a much better place societally than they were however many decades ago. Now, as a side note, that's a very white woman argument to make, but we're going to let that slide for half a second. So Chait brings up the fact that sort of Twitter commentators are creating hashtags in order to address sort of problematic commentary that's coming from mainstream journalism. And so he refers to one Twitter hashtag, RIP Patriarchy, that he describes as becoming, quote, a label for critics to lampoon her thesis. Now, I remember that RIP Patriarchy debacle. The reason that hashtag took off is because Hannah Rosen literally wrote an article in Slate, the headline of which was Patriarchy is Dead. That's why the RIP Patriarchy hashtag began to trend. Not because people were just, half-assedly, irreverently criticizing her thesis. It's because they were taking what she had written and then were countering it, were criticizing it. And it seems to me it's this criticism, this ability that previously disenfranchised voices have to criticize those who are in mainstream journalistic outfits. I think that is what seems to concern him, is that social media has sort of leveled the playing field. So previously, someone like Jonathan Chait could write 4,795 words talking about, how liberalism is killing, how political correctness is killing liberalism. And the only response that he would get to that article would likely be a handwritten or typed out letter to the editor that would have to be mailed into the magazine. Now, in the age of digital media, social media, people are able to make their feelings about arguments known very, very quickly. They're able to take to Twitter and say, at Jonathan Chait, here's where you're wrong. Ba, 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 ba. And I really think that that's something that has him fucked up.
And actually, I want to get to our guest right now, because he wrote actually a very reasonable and clear kind of cutting argument as to why Chait was so angry. But when we were having this conversation earlier, I turned to Imani and I said, "Holy crap!" I said, "This is like the big media example of how we've made jokes and we've told stories here about how sometimes doing something while black, doing something with this particular skin color can make it louder. So if I say, 'Excuse me, ma'am,' but as a large Negro, all of a sudden it's like, 'Bitch, what?' Like, it's just, that's what's heard by some other people. And in this situation, I feel as if that's kind of what's happening, because he's upset, and so he has this big platform to kind of go out and say, this is what's happening, and this is a problem with blah blah blah. But at the same time, other people are using what they have to call him out, which is basically the same type of thing, if you will. But the question is, whose word is being accepted more at the moment? And he's actually, apparently he feels as if maybe his words and way of thinking is not being looked at with the same amount of respect as it might have been at one time. But it's because of who they are and how they're doing it and what they're doing about that makes it even more problematic. It makes it what he people have referred to in the past as toxic, and that's part of the problem. And so this morning, when I emailed Imani, I instant messaged Imani with the response to this article of the fuck, and Imani was like, "I know." She sent me an article that was written by someone that we both follow on Twitter, Angus Johnson, who's a professor over at the University of New York, and he wrote a very clear cutting argument to this. And let's put that computer up now, Arnetta, so that we can actually speak to our guest. Mr. Johnson, sir, are you there?
Hi.
Excellent, sir. Thank you so much for coming on the show and sitting down and discussing this with us here. So, you've heard a lot of what we're saying about this. How do you see it? And if you feel like we've strayed and gone awry at any point in time, please feel free to call us out on that.
Well, I wasn't able to hear all of it through the computer, so I was listening to most of it on the phone, so I didn't hear everything. But I think one of the really crucial things that's happening here is this incredible fear that he has, and that he assumes everybody in his position has, of being called out as a bigot or as being wrong or as being evil, all of that kind of stuff. That he believes that the moment that you are called a racist, the moment that you are called a sexist, the moment that you are called a bigot, that the conversation ends. And that not only does the conversation end, but that you are then precluded from speaking more. And that's just something that I find really kind of bizarre on a bunch of different levels.
And so it's interesting that you point that out. So he calls out these things about like these toxic words or in spaces, people hashtags that are calling people out, conversations that end. But at the same time, it doesn't seem like he understands the position of power that's actually the power structure and the power dynamics that are at play even in the midst of all of this, and that how some people using a hashtag to combat a problematic language or problematic ideas is just one way of dealing with, let's say, a media space like that has a lot more money, a lot more power, a lot more reach in general, but somehow he thinks that the hashtag is more of a problem than the space that's being called out.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the things that I said in my piece was that there are two things that are sort of lumped together under call-out culture and this, the fear that people have of speaking online. One is the fear of being misunderstood, and the other is the fear of not being misunderstood. And I think that the reality is that usually if you screw up, you can walk it back. It's not something that you can't recover from. But what he's talking about is him saying something, or somebody else saying because he's been insisting all day on Twitter that this isn't about him, this isn't about his hurt feelings. But what he wants us to accept is that you say something and you mean it, and other people think that it's really, really messed up, and that somehow it's wrong and bad for the left for people to say, wow, that's really messed up, and I kind of feel like you're kind of messed up.
And that's another point there. The idea that certain ideas, like he's very upset. He says that people want certain ideas to be stamped out or whatever, and that he finds that problematic. This is problematic and detrimental to free speech and democracy. Where at the same time, I feel as if he's not taking into consideration what the things that people are calling the quote unquote call outs, what people are not accepting any longer, are aspects of a culture and a power structure that has actively oppressed people for hundreds of years, if you will, and that has actively played a role in actually causing people, like he kind of makes light of microaggressions when it's been shown that these microaggressions that people consider very small things, but they actually they weigh very heavily on the people that are actually experiencing them. They actually shorten your life. But he looks at this as something that it's not that big a deal, and it's almost like this almost funny made up thing, microaggressions, where not the real thing that people are actively dealing with. And he uses certain points to make the bigger points. So he'll use something that could be looked at, that could be argued against as like, I don't know if that actually works, or I'm not sure if that would actually be the best example of that, but uses that as the basic rule for everything, as opposed to that's just one aspect of things. You can give a weak example, you can give a strong example, but that doesn't mean that the type of thing that is an example of doesn't exist.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely.
And so, also, yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, please.
Well, I just also think that there's this business in the piece where he says that once you have been labeled in this way, there's no way out of it. There's no way back. And it seems to preclude two different things which are really important. One is maybe you were wrong, and maybe you would learn something from somebody being mad at you. My own experience as a straight white guy is that if I say something to somebody who I think of as my friend and it makes them really, really angry, then I've done something wrong. I may not be wrong in what I believe. I may not be a bad person, but I've done something wrong because I don't intend to make people who I think of as my friends feel like crap or feel like I'm a jerk. That's not my intention. And so
yes, please, yes. Break that down more, because that's where I was going with all of this next. The idea that the fact is that like what he's calling political correctness, Marxism, Marxist left nonsense. To me, it's like, hey, I give a shit if someone's upset about what I've done or said.
Exactly. John Hodgman, the author, actor, bon vivant, he had a great interaction with Chait on Twitter today, and I think it's notable that Chait chose to interact with another middle-aged white guy who's fairly famous and has a reputation for being pretty moderate. But setting that aside, he demands engagement. He really wants engagement. And then, Hodgman wants to talk. Okay, fine. But one of the things that Hodgman said was that the first time that he ever heard or encountered the word cisgender was when somebody was throwing it at him as an insult on Twitter. And what he said was, it stung. I didn't like it. It wasn't fun for me. But I was grateful to learn that word and grateful to have my way of looking at the world expanded in that way. And now that I know that word and now that I know that concept, I'm a little bit less of a jerk than I used to be, and I'm grateful for that as well. And that idea that we can learn through these dialogues, even if the learning is painful, and even if the things that are being said to us are painful, is something that Chait just completely denies the possibility of.
Yeah, and one of the things that really troubled me about the article is where he talks about the claims of victimhood. He says, claims of victimhood that are useful within the left-wing subculture may alienate much of America. To my mind, it sounds like he's saying that, oh, you silly black, brown, homosexual, transgendered, whatever kind of subgroup, whatever kind of traditionally oppressed group, the fact that you are talking about your experiences and talking about the fact that you have been victimized by this country, it's wearing on me. And so he actually says, nor does it bode well for the movement's longevity that many of its allies are worn out. Now, in my mind, if you're worn out by me talking about racism, by me talking about misogyny, by me talking about reproductive health and reproductive justice, if that tires you as an ally, then you were never an ally to begin with, because it seems to me you want the conversation around quote unquote victimhood and social justice issues and racial justice issues. You want that conversation to be had on your terms. And if it's not had on your terms, then you just upend the Scrabble table and take your toys and go home, because you as a white guy have that option. I as a black woman don't have the option to be tired of victimhood and tired of rape. I'm tired of it, but it's part of my life.
And now, there was something specific. Remember that when he mentioned that, what he was talking about, it was mentioned in the conversation around Hillary Clinton running for president in 2016, because he was pointing out that fact that political correctness supposedly died in the early 90s, and now it's having this resurgence, and it died right around the time the first that Bill Clinton ran for office, and he was saying that this could be problematic for Hillary, or maybe not, because what the victimhood status that people claim within subcultures of the left won't be really accepted for the rest of America. And I'm like, so wait, you're telling me that people that aren't in fact affected by this type of oppression won't really care about this type of oppression and people speaking out about it? That's shocking. I would have never guessed such a thing. Like, it does, like, to me, the argument doesn't make sense. Like Angus, please tell me that I'm just misunderstanding his argument, because like, maybe listen, you have that highfalutin learning over there. You're a professor over at CUNY. Tell me that I just don't get it.
Yeah, pardon me, miss. I speak jive. Honestly, there are big chunks of the essay that I felt bad that I didn't really feel like I understood. The biggest example of this was, let me see if I can find this here. It's he's talking about the PC conventions and the shared ideology, and he says that the vocabulary, stuff like mansplaining and microaggression and all this, he says it locks in shared ideological assumptions that make meaningful disagreement impossible. And it's, what does that even mean? I think what it means, and as close as I can get to imagining what it means, is that people who think he's a jerk, and he doesn't like that. And I mean, this is why I titled the essay, Jonathan Chait Demands to be Liked, because the reality is that nobody is under any obligation to like you. Nobody is under any obligation to engage with you. Nobody is under any obligation, and this is really, really crucial, nobody is under any obligation to give you the benefit of the doubt, right? And this goes back to what you were saying earlier about how folks like Jonathan Chait have had a very, very long time of getting used to being able to assume that they would get the benefit of the doubt. And the reality is that you don't get that benefit of the doubt anymore if you're Jonathan Chait. And that's not the end of the discussion. That's the beginning of the discussion.
But it's a beginning of a very, very different discussion, which is, I think, part of the problem, because like you said, like now all of a sudden he's upset because, like he said, when he brings up, like, if you think me being white or male has anything to do affects what I'm saying here at all, blah blah blah, then you should stop reading now. It's how. And so I guess this is almost like more of a question that that I'm asking, like, how do you get people to understand that? Yes, these things play a role. Just like if you were white and male and having a conversation around privilege in general, especially in America, yeah, that's gonna play a role in how you're perceived in that. Especially if you're actively ignoring, because it's not like there isn't academic work around this. It's not like there isn't case studies to prove that people aren't making these things up. That this is a real part of people's lives, and this is when people are now tired of it. Like there was a portion of the article where he talks about tone policing, and he starts to explain it. And he says that if you ask someone to not engage you in a particular way, it's called tone policing, and that's not okay either. I'm like, yeah, it's not. If I'm angry because of something either really messed up that you just said, something that you just co-signed from a position of power, and it's affecting my life, why do I now have to calm down and say, so hey, Jonathan, hey, I just want you to know, first of all, love the hair. But I just wanted you to know that oh my God, that outfit is so nice, and I really think you're an amazing writer. But this thing really, I felt tense. I felt a little uncomfortable, as opposed to saying, this is fucked up. This is something that actually hurts me, and it's something that I've been affected by for years. And your white-splaining, mansplaining, or what I feel like we should now just coin right now, your Chait-splaining of this bullshit isn't helping.
And I think that it's crucial to note that the things that are going to piss somebody off when you're having these kinds of conversations are not unknowable, right? There are certain phrases, certain ways of speaking, certain ways of approaching a question, which are likely to make it go south, right? Which are likely to make it turn ugly. And you can't necessarily, you can't learn all of them overnight, but you can learn them, and you can keep your goddamn mouth shut for a while you're learning them. And you could assume that there's something to be gained by figuring out how to do this in a way that is not going to be hugely, hugely annoying. Because one of the most obnoxious elements of, well, as a white man, I could say something in exactly the same way and it would be treated completely differently. Yes, as y'all were saying, that's appropriate and the way the world has always worked, and it mostly is working in my favor and Jonathan Chait's. But B, this idea that Jonathan Chait is ever going to say anything in exactly the same way that a Latina lesbian with a disability would say it is just kind of preposterous, right?
Yep.
The way that he approaches these conversations is shaped by his life experience, as it should be.
Right.
Yeah. And Aaron, you've been silent on this because I sent the article to Aaron earlier today when we were prepping for this, and Aaron's response was, "I don't like this."
I don't. You guys have spread a lot of word, and like I said, you ever heard the statement, "It's mighty white of you," in response to something some white fella says? Mm-hmm. This is the mightiest, whitest statement I have heard in years. Just so many words and just so epic in its mighty white manness, and there's nothing else for me to say that no one else has said. It's just. I mean, without swear words, like he can go fuck himself. Is a lot of words for an argument that I get from a lot of angry, annoyed white people. Essentially, they just want all the noise to stop, and they are going about it in every way possible. Some white people are getting belligerent about it. Some people they stumble upon racism, sexism. So Chait has decided to drop 4,000 words or however many words on it. And so, but the argument is still the same, and as a result, he can still go fuck himself the way all the other folks that have the same argument go fuck themselves, despite his lofty position. Good for him.
This is what I feel. I blame myself for this because I have a very strong go fuck yourself doctrine here, and so now I'm like, Aaron, well, we don't want to like no. Aaron's like, no,
he can't go fuck himself.
It's the same argument. It's always essentially some white dude going, "Come on, man!"
Right.
Damn it! Come on! I don't want to call you by the name you gave me. You're a Negro, right?
But can we have the point where Angus, sir, please tell me if you disagree with this. Can we have the point the takeaway from all of this, from everything that Chait wrote in this epic ridiculousness, is that it's like is it really that hard to give a shit that if other people are upset or bothered by something? Like the fact is just like how Hodgman's point where he said the first time he was called cisgendered, it was like, okay, which by the way, when you really think about it, that is not something to be offended for in any shape or form. You cisgendered person who has a certain amount of privilege that you carry at all points in time. Like that's once you understand what it is, it's not even an insult. But like you're upset that you one have to even learn what that means. Two, that you have to learn that the fact that you didn't see your privilege, but you carry one at all times. Three, the fact is, why don't you give a shit? I am a comic. I have I traffic in humor, and so a lot of times I'm messing around, I'm saying something, whatever. And please know, I'm someone who has called out aspects of the 11 hour. Come on, guys, you're a humorless liberal weekly. I've made that joke. That is my joke. Like the fact is, I do feel like sometimes people are going a bit far about something like if I say man, I want a burger, like that's not fair to cows. All right, no, I'm not gonna get upset. I'm not gonna sit here and just go I'm sorry that I said I wanted a burger. I'm not, at that point, I'm not. But at the same time, I do have a moment where I have to stop and go all right, wait. Well, why are you upset? Why are you upset by what I just said? Okay. Two, is the thing that upsets you right now, is that something that I'm willing, that hurts me to actually stop and think about and understand? All right, cool. I was called out. There's various things that I've been called out about. And at first I argued about it, and then at some point I'm like, oh, okay, you know what? Actually, I can see. I see it now. I'm sorry. All right, I'm gonna do this now, and I just go about my day. And I would think that the more words that you have to describe things, to be able to have these conversations. I love a brand new word. I know people are like, these stupid words, that's not even real. Bring me all the words. I fucking love it. You know why? Because that way I can explain shit. Because I like to be able to communicate what I'm thinking to you. And I've learned in America numerous times when people are saying things that we're saying the same words, but we're not talking to each other at the same time. We're saying different things even though we're using the same word. So yes, let's find out what those words are. Let's get all the words out there and let's have a conversation around this and actually have a real conversation and talk about the fact that when you're speaking from positions of power and position of privilege, sometimes your big opinion on that at that point is not the most important person's opinion right now. I don't care how much you care and how much you feel about it. Oh, you feel so strongly. You've read a lot of books around it. You want to do. I have a lot of feelings about this thing right now. That's cool, but you're speaking from a position that's been held in power for like even now you still like and so I don't care.
Yeah.
And I don't understand why it's so hard to understand when your position. There's a lot of things, especially around gender and stuff and women. There's sometimes I just go, nope, I'm just gonna shut up now.
Yeah,
I got no say in this.
Right, because you know, when it comes to issues of gender, men have been heard. When it comes to issues of race, white people have been heard. There isn't anything that Jonathan Chait says in this article that has not been said by people who have said it in a much more lucid fashion. This is just 4,795 words of rehashing shit that people have already said, complaining about political correctness. And what really irritates me about it is that he pretends to want to have a conversation. He demands debate. Is he allowed to critique political correctness culture? Well, of course you're allowed to, because you wrote 4,795 words about it. But here's the thing. You wrote them in such a way that anyone who is critiquing you is automatically seen as part of the problem. So you're undermining any chance of having a discussion with the people who are criticizing you, the people who are hurting your feelings ostensibly or apparently. You're undermining any conversation with them, because right out of the gate you're saying that if you respond to what I've written, these 4,795 words, if you respond with any sort of anger whatsoever, then you're already part of outrage culture. You're already part of the rage clickbaiting culture, and I don't have to listen to you.
And
so don't pretend that you want to talk to me when really you don't want to talk to me. You want me to listen to what you've said, which is the same as what every fucking white person has always said.
Not every white person.
A lot of white people.
Right. But again, and so because like we have Angus right here. Angus is being well there, so I just want to point that out. But poor Angus is like, I don't. But
he understands not to go not all white people on me, because
that's right.
He's a sensible, intelligent, and understanding person. He knows that when I am speaking as a black woman from not a position of power, that when I say white people do this, I'm not talking about every single white people. I'm talking about white people, the brand. Okay. Angus is a franchise of white people that I like.
Yes.
I'm an independently owned franchisee. I'm not actually owned by corporate. But here's one thing that's really interesting about that, and that goes back to the discussion with Hodgman. Hodgman began by saying that a lot of times people on the internet, including progressives, take offense for the sake of taking offense. A lot of times people act like jerks around issues of privilege and power. A lot of times students on campuses take up causes which are maybe not the brightest causes. And nobody on the left was yelling at Hodgman for saying that, because we were all like, yeah, that does happen, right? It's not like we deny that there are flaws and excesses and obnoxiousnesses within our community. We know that is true. What we object to is somebody who pretends to be on our team weaponizing those flaws and frailties, which every group has, and using them as a cudgel to beat us up with.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I think that that is the big thing there, and thank you for laying that out. If you had any big takeaway that you want people to truly look at around this, Angus, sir, could you please share that with us?
Actually, and Angus, can I ask you something specifically? Could you talk a little bit about what you said with respect to speech, and how the things that Chait is criticizing as being censorship are actually speech?
Yeah, that's one of the weirdest things about it. You know, he's arguing against people vehemently and vociferously defending their views, and he does this very strange thing where he contrasts reason versus coercion. That if you are not trying to convince somebody with reason, then you are coercing them. And I just think that that's such a... It's putting your thumb on the scale. It's saying that if you don't play the game by my rules, if you don't have the debate in the tone of voice that I want and using the kind of rhetoric which I find acceptable, then you're not actually debating. You're not actually discussing. What you're doing is you're being mean to me and you're silencing me. And I just find that putrid, really.
Yeah. And I agree. And I'm hoping that this particular moment, here's the scary part, Angus, and again, tell me if you disagree with this. The scary part to me is that as many of us who just said, wait, what? No, that's not how that works. I feel like there's so many people right now going, oh my God, thank you. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, thank you, Chait. Like I have been.
It was nice that there were a lot of that even Chait seemed to be a little bit uncomfortable with some of the people who were coming out of the woodwork to pat him on the back.
Yeah, Gamergate.
This rogues gallery of weirdos and crypto fascists who were like, "Yeah, Chait, you're doing great stuff," and he was reduced to actually putting up a block quote of something where he said mean stuff about conservatives in an attempt to be like, "Well, don't like me that much, guys."
As Amani pointed out earlier today, she was like, if these are the people that are backing you, maybe you should stop for a moment and go, "Hey, wait."
Yeah, I mean, you've got Christina Summers, who's the over mistress of the Gamergate movement, who recently wrote an article in the Daily Beast saying that the media is responsible for people talking about campus rape and sexual assault, and that rape culture is not really a thing, it's media generated. You've got other Gamergaters who have spent the better part of the last 7 months harassing women and calling women the most horrific of names and doxing them out of their homes. And then you have Andrew Sullivan, who until the day he dies is going to insist that the bell curve has some merit. I mean, he has attracted the most racist and misogynist people in the history of the internet to back him. So, I mean, if those are the people that are saying, "Yay, we love you," and the people, and they're the scads of women of color and women and progressives and leftists and socialists and Marxists and whatever, who are saying, wait a minute, this isn't quite right, maybe you ought to rethink your position.
And maybe yes, sir, continue.
I think there's another thing that's really important building off of that, which is that he frames this essay as, here's how we're going to save the left, here's how we're going to save liberalism, right? This is what we need to do if we want this movement to be a movement that can win elections and build power and all of this stuff. But the reality is that the white male is not only not the majority of any left/liberal/democratic electoral coalition, it's not the median voter, it's not even the swing voter, right? Like, there's 15 of us white guys who are voting for the Democrats, and that's basically all we need, right? We need to build a coalition of women, particularly women of color. We need to build a diverse coalition of people of color. We need the people who are gay and lesbian and bisexual and trans and otherwise oppressed on the basis of their sexuality or their gender presentation or sexual orientation. What we need to do is create a space in which folks like me and Jonathan Chait are comfortable being part of this larger conversation and this larger coalition. We're not the center of that coalition, and if we try to make ourselves the center of the coalition, then we will always lose, because the other side will always be better at appealing to white guys who are freaked out by race and gender than we are.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And in the end, just can you, like, people have been tweeting it. David Von Eber's host of Sports Ball was tweeting out, just don't be a dick. Can you just not be a dick? I mean, by the way, this many words to say what you said, this boils down to you kind of being a dick. And when all the dicks co-sign you on your dickitude, like, it makes you a dick. Even if you thought you weren't a dick, at the end, if this many dicks say, yes, you're a man, I like what you're doing, you have to just go, man, I must have been a dick by accident. Accidental dick.
Yeah, we should all have a poster up on our walls, right above our keyboard, right above our monitor, that just says, consider the possibility that you may in fact be a dick.
That's it. In the end, that's all I feel like anyone should just do. At all points in time, like, am I being a dick?
Yeah.
And because Amani, how many times we have production, Angus, I'm dead ass. We have production meetings, and that we're about to cover something, and I'll bring it to the production meeting. I'm like, all right, guys, I might be being a dick. And I'll just ask everyone numerous times. I'll say, like, so these are the angles I'm looking at, but I might be missing something. And so, like, if I'm being a dick, just tell me I'm being a dick, and then we can kind of go from there. But I actively look for it because I don't want to be a dick. You know, like, I don't understand. Just why? Just try.
Yeah.
Just try. All right, Angus, thank you so much. You've hung out with us a long time. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me. This was wonderful.
Excellent. And now we're gonna have to definitely have you back. You are our first, since we did the upgrades in the studio, our first remote guest to be able to play with us. So I'm happy that we got you in and that this did not explode completely for the first time.
Wonderful.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. All right, we have we don't have we blew through a lot of show on this, but I think we have a hot 10 minutes, huh?
We have like 5 minutes.
Right.
We have 5 minutes.
You know what? I know what we'll do. Let's continue the Falcon hate.
Speaking of Falcon hate, when we were talking about this last time, I didn't understand what you meant by Falcon, and then I
Right.
finally watched Captain America: Winter Soldier this weekend. I was like, oh! And then I saw him, I was like, oh. Because I was like, he's got the wings. Oh, but Anthony, why?
Anthony Mackie.
Come on, dude.
So Anthony Mackie, who's an actor, he's been in a myriad movies, but he recently is one of his bigger roles was as Falcon and Captain America: Winter Soldier. People were very, very happy. Black superhero dude being all fat, black superhero-y. We were all excited about it. Then Mackie came out and he was saying some stuff about why Selma got snubbed, and it was just like, come on, dude. And we all kind of agreed that maybe it would have been nice if he would just stop talking. Mm-hmm. It would have just been nice to stop talking. Aaron, do you agree that Mackie should stop talking?
Yeah, because he keeps talking, and then I'm gonna have to do things like note that his dumb ass just flying around in that damn movie. He ain't really got no power. But now if he's gonna sit there and start commenting on race, and I have to start commenting on his wingsuit, that's just a damn suit, and take off that fucking. I mean, I'm just saying.
It wasn't even his suit, son.
It wasn't. Yeah, he just borrowed it and he ain't doing nothing in it. But he lost a wing and then rolled around on the ground. He ain't do nothing. I'm just saying.
See,
I mean, we're just happy for him. Like we got a lot of solidarity. We're like, go ahead.
We were happy for a black superhero. Exactly.
Rent that suit. Don't worry about renting that suit. Ain't gonna judge you. Rent that suit.
But now there's a clip of Mackie. He was recently on the Wendy Williams show, and this particular thing happened. Can we get that clip?
You and I have something in common. You believe in a lot of cases that men and women have roles.
Oh, yeah.
All right, well, you say it because people get
you
mad
better
when
believe
I say
it.
it.
I'm from this. Yeah, you better believe it.
I mean, I know you're from New Orleans, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah. Well, I'm only from Jersey,
Yeah,
but I
but-
do believe that
Yeah.
if he wants a sandwich,
You make daddy a sandwich.
most of the time.
No. Let me ask you this. Well, okay, let me ask you this. If me and you out and somebody say something slick to you,
You punch him in the
you
face.
want me to smack him in his mouth,
Yep,
right?
That's right.
So if I take you on a date and I say, look, baby, we gonna go Dutch.
No.
Exactly. If we walking up to the car and I don't open your car door, what do you say?
Open the door.
You better believe it.
Yeah, no, I am with you. I think
So you
that-
make daddy a sandwich.
I think
Stop.
I will.
Walk
I'm gonna
away.
go to the shower.
Move away. Stop.
Why?
So
Why? Why, Elon?
I don't.
Aaron!
Falcon.
Why?
Falcon. The fuck Falcon.
I mean, he's at the point now where I may just be booing when he appears on the screen in another Captain America movie or whatever. Like, I just don't. Like, I'm starting to just not like his face. Like, I don't even understand what. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess he's. I don't know. I mean, Steve Harvey gets paid to say the same thing. So, I mean, what keeps him from not saying it? Steve Harvey's entire platform is that.
Make daddy a sandwich. I want to be clear on this. And so the amount of gender norms that he threw out there at once, and so let me step away because obviously I'm part of. Well, I mean it's Wendy Williams. I expect that. But let me step away because when I say that, then all of a sudden they're like, oh, you're like I'm being part of Marxist left. Let me see if I can say this in a way that isn't Marxist-y and lefty for everyone. So hey, sometimes you can go like saying. Let's go Dutch is not somehow make you less of a man or a failure, and that you could. Do you have the money? And like at the same time, there's a lot of dudes out there who they'll go pay for your meal because they feel like because the man's supposed to do. But you know what? They also are sitting there like, oh, but I'm gonna get some. I'm gonna get some for this. You know what I'm saying? Because like they have a lot of like because daddy might need something afterwards. So like let's have that moment. We're just like, hey, like that just doesn't make a lot of sense. Two. Really? I mean, so we're cool. Are we going around punching people in the face, Aaron? Is that what we're doing?
Apparently, we have to make it a point to do that. And the thing about, I don't even understand, because I understand that some people do want to do that. I understand some women want to cook and all that stuff. But
that's different.
Why can't we? Yeah, I don't understand. Why is it that it needs to be like? Why do we need to sit on that expectation? But I don't know. Like I said, I'm like a Marxist left or something.
A Marxist leftist, sir. No, yeah, but that's completely different. If someone wants to cook for you, that is amazing. Yeah. I will take some cooking if you want to cook for me. But at the same time, I don't feel like it's a man and woman's role because in our household, like we've said on this show numerous times, I'm the cook. Like if things are being to be cooked, I'm the cook. You want me to be the cook? I am the cook. And then I say, stop telling me what you make, wife. But I cook, all right? And I have no issue with that. At the same time, they're very. I'm never a fan of gender norms being pushed down on people. When people are like, the man's role and the woman's role is this, and I'm like, what if she doesn't want that role? What if I don't want that role?
I can open my own damn car doors.
Huh?
I can open my own damn car doors.
Yeah, I mean, well,
I'm perfectly.
Are you
perfectly capable?
You
of
don't.
doing
I mean,
that.
you're small. I don't know. Are you strong
I am
enough?
small, but I'm strong enough to open a car door.
I mean, but like, would you make Daddy a sandwich?
And why are you talking about yourself in the third person and calling yourself Daddy?
I bet. Listen, some people are into that, ma'am. They call it make daddy. If someone like I smack someone, so make daddy. Here's the best part about it: if someone was talking slick to my wife, I would not be too amused by it. I've actually been in situations where I've kind of stepped into something because I didn't appreciate the way someone was dealing with my wife. But at the end of that, I was not like, and now you better make me a sandwich because that's how it work. I was like, I didn't appreciate how he spoke to my wife or my girlfriend at the time. I dealt with that. There was no reciprocation needed for that. I just did not. I did what I felt was best. When I cook, I'm not like, and you better be doing something. No, I cook because I feel like cooking right now. If I don't feel like cooking, I'm not going to cook. Like this, it's a problematic thought process that just like, I think it's more shocking that it's just on display in 2015. Had this been like 1982, we'd expect it to be almost normal. But we're supposed to be past this, man. And Falcon, the fuck, stop talking. Stop talking, Falcon. Can we get an official TWiB Nation vote? Like just hashtag stop talking, Falcon.
I mean, I need to be able to cheer these black characters in these high-profile Marvel movies. They're fun. I don't need one that comes on the screen for me to boo. I mean, I don't even want to hear what Chadwick Boseman has to say about anything until Black Panther. Shut the fuck up. Don't say anything to anyone. So just fucking, please, sequester yourself. Because Anthony Mackie's already messing up Falcon for me. I need Black Panther to not talk about race or gender or marriage or money or cars or basketball or nothing.
Now, by the way, Aaron, I don't know if you know this. We are now currently part of the problem. We are shutting down Anthony Mackie and his ability to make an argument. We're fucking this up right now because we just used the same speech that he used to say that ridiculous nonsense. We're using that same speech to tell him stop being a dick, and now we are now a part of the problem.
I don't want to have to. You can speak only once. I don't want to have to boo a black superhero in my high-profile superhero movies. I don't want to. I watch them with like a childlike state of delight for 3 hours, and I go home happy every time. All of them. I don't want to have to all of a sudden be like booing this particular dude because he keeps talking.
Jonathan Chait was right, Aaron. Right here, you just proved it.
We're destroying democracy, Aaron.
We're destroying. This is right here, us quoting out the fact that dude is pushing that down. We're destroying democracy right now. I'm sorry.
He did it first. I just want to watch my Marvel movie.
Aaron gives no fucks about any of this. He was just like, "Can I watch a movie? I just want to watch my damn movie." All right, we're done.
A lot of downtime. It's a long job. One of many jobs. I don't have a lot of downtime. The one dude come on the screen. He's going to be prominently featured.
All right. Okay, folks. Have we been sufficiently black, Amani?
I think we've been too black, maybe.
Too black?
You might want to dial it back a little bit.
I don't know. Wait, can't stop, won't stop. Take that. Aaron, have we been sufficiently black?
Yes, Daddy thinks that.
Never do that again. If you ever answer, have we been sufficiently black with yes, Daddy thinks we've been sufficiently black, you're fired.
I don't know. I may do it every day. I don't know. Apparently that's
so. I will cut off the power. I would cut off the power over there. You'll just be sitting there in a household with no gas either, and it's cold in New York. Like don't fuck around. No daddy here, because Daddy don't like that. All right. Thank you guys for listening. We'll be back here tomorrow, same black time, same black channel. Have a pleasant evening.
So from now on, whenever you hear these horns, just know. You are now entering the blackness. Collard greens, cornbread, and the catfish. Malcolm X and Dr. King with a blackface. We are live, son. This is blackness. You are now entering the blackness. Stevie Wonder, Marvin Gaye in the classics. Real love, the opposite of ratchet. We are live, son. This is black.